What's up, guys? This is Armand here for E equals MCU, and I wanted to do a follow-up video for the video that I did before, just because the last couple of days there's been a lot of confusion, chatter on the YouTube about what does Disney and Marvel, what do they do with this? How do they move forward? It's really hard to even really go into that, just because of everything that's going on and what's at stake and everything. But I did want to just kind of put in my 2 cents on what I think they should do. So this is kind of like my pitch. This will be like my pitch to Marvel Studios as to what I would do with the character and how I would proceed. So let's get into this. My theory is that whether Marvel Studios and Disney knew about his condition or not, at this point is irrelevant. It really doesn't matter if they knew or not. They're gonna have to figure out something. They have to make a decision. I mean, do they make a sequel? Do they make a trilogy, or don't they? And I think that just because it's a $1 billion franchise, but just because that character and that cast means so much to the people and to the fans, I think that they have to continue that story. And I think that Chadwick Boseman understood and knew the importance of the character, and I totally think that he would be 100% behind the character moving forward. So, with that said, okay, what do you do? I've heard Grace Randolph say that, it should be Shuri. Shuri should be Black Panther just because that's what they did in the comics. She was Black Panther in the comics. Okay. There's an argument for that. I don't think that the Shuri in the MCU is necessarily ready to be Black Panther or to be a Black Panther, but I am not against her getting the chance to be a Black Panther or the Black Panther. I just don't think it should necessarily be in the sequel. And the reason why is because, there's a couple of things here. Number one, she's a scientist. She's the smartest person in the MCU, okay? She likes to be in her lab. You can tell that's where her passion is, where her heart is. Even in the first movie, she even made a joke about being the king or queen of Wakanda when he asked the question, did anybody, object to T'Challa, being the king? And she raised her hand jokingly, knowing that everybody would think that, oh no, she's going to challenge her brother for the throne. And she just made a joke about just ready to, being ready to leave. So I think that shows you where she's at right now. And I don't think that's fair to necessarily have to push her into that point. Now, in movies going forward in the next 10 years, yes, she should have her chance to be the Black Panther for whatever reason, but going forward in this immediate sequel, no. So, okay, so you go that route. Then I also heard M'Baku. People say maybe M'Baku should have the mantle and you should pass it on to M'Baku, and then you don't recast T'Challa. The problem, I don't really have a problem with M'Baku being the leader, because he's obviously ready for that. You know what I mean? Like he was ready for that. He was, he did his challenge. He barely lost in the fight, and really, I think that could be a replacement if they wanted to go that way. I think Winston Duke is a great actor. I think he could carry the shoulder as well as Letitia Wright. I think they both could do it. But to me, those characters are what I call like a dose character. Like you get a dose of them in the right spots and they enhance and make the movie better. They're not necessarily leads. And then it's just like, how would you take his story and him being so pro Wakanda, like how would you tie him into anything else that's going on? Granted, he did fight in Infinity War, but I don't think he's like necessarily like wanting to go to Avengers headquarters and talk about other stuff other than Wakanda. So that's an option. So then the other options that I've heard, even this morning, Josh on the Den of Nerds was saying, if they recast it, he's saying that it should be John Boyega from Star Wars. And granted, with his recent comments and everything of what he said about Disney and about Star Wars, there's two things. Number one, I like him. I think he should be in the MCU. I just don't think it should necessarily be as Black Panther. And reasoning for that, number one, is he doesn't really have, I guess they would call it the build necessarily that they're going for with that character. I almost would even think he looks a little young to be a king also. I think he's got the acting chops to possibly do it, but I'm not necessarily sure that's his strength either, to play the role that way. It'd be like a totally different kind of T'Challa. So I like him though. I like him. I think he should get a different character. Also, somebody else they brought up was John David Washington, which is Denzel Washington's son, who's starring in a new Tenet movie. And I think that he could do it. He'd be the perfect next to perfect replacement to be T'Challa. But there's one thing that people aren't talking about with him that I don't think that maybe everybody understands, but just in Hollywood and business, he's pretty much tied down to WB. I don't know if it's one of those things when you're up and coming actor and one of the studios gets a hold of you, they usually put you in a string of movies to where they kind of have you like you're working with them for however many years, and sometimes that's in the contract. I mean, if you look at with Sony and Tom Holland, most of his movies that he has outside of Spider-Man are still coming through Sony and or Disney. So there are business relationships in there, and I kind of think that's probably why he won't be the choice, even though I think he would be a good Black Panther. So then you say, well, where do you go from here? There are some other black actors out there that deserve the shot if they wanted to go that route. I haven't seen the Lovecraft Country show yet, but I heard the actor in there. I've seen him in other things. He's up and coming. So there are other actors out there who could do it. But for me, and what I'm thinking Disney has to go here is you have to cast Michael B. Jordan. Yes, Michael B. Jordan. And hear me out. This is the reason why I say this. Michael B. Jordan is already in works with Disney, as he was just Eric Killmonger. So he's familiar with working with Disney, and I think what gives him a leg up on this is that, number one, he worked on the first movie with the whole cast, so he already has a relationship with everybody on the cast. He had a very strong relationship with Chadwick Boseman. And the director, Ryan Coogler, is like his best friend anyway, which is the reason why he was Eric Killmonger in the first film anyways. So to me, it only makes sense for Disney's first choice to go after Michael B. Jordan and try to convince him to do the role, because there's no, you don't know if he even wants to even follow that up, given everything that he went through to play Eric Killmonger. You don't know if he wants to follow that up and try to play a whole different T'Challa, or if he wants to come back as Eric Killmonger. That's a decision the studio would have to make. But if they were going to do it, a lot of people say, well, you can't do it because he was evil, he was irredeemable in the first movie and all of this stuff. First of all, just to that sentiment, I say that if you think that his character was so evil and irredeemable in the first movie, you probably voted for Trump. That's number one. Yeah, I said it. Number two, his character, if you look at his character and Chadwick's T'Challa in the first movie, there really wasn't much that separated them on their ideals. It was just how to go about it. And T'Challa's whole argument was that I'm not the king of the world, I'm the king of Wakanda. I have to look out for my people. And which by the end of the movie, he started to come off of that a little bit because of his relationship with Killmonger and going through that with him, but also with Nakia. and what she was saying. So he kind of came to his senses a little bit, and he kind of moved off that point. Killmonger just wanted to go about it what he would deem was the wrong way. But the part that everybody's missing in this, and why they think that can't happen, is that you have a wild card in this scenario, and that is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. That movie is scheduled to come out before Black Panther 2, okay? And in that movie, it is very easy to have multiple versions of characters, which they're going to do anyway. I mean, there's already rumors of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man popping up in it, and you got America's Chavez, going to be in it. So there's going to be some element of dimension hopping going on here. How hard would it be for Marvel Studios to just take a Eric Killmonger from a different timeline, or even a T'Challa, if he wanted to just play T'Challa? It could be, in a different timeline where Eric Killmonger, maybe there's a timeline where Eric Killmonger and his dad didn't leave Wakanda. So therefore, when they have to do their fights for the crown and everything, maybe he won in his timeline and he's been the king of Wakanda. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have to be the same character. You have to understand a lot of that character's resentment and where he was coming from in the first Black Panther was due to the fact that, they were shunned from their family. And basically he killed his dad and just left him there by himself. He grew up in America. So how different would Killmonger be if he actually grew up in Wakanda? So you could always play that route and then, have his, his natural Wakanda name, Eric, whatever, what it was supposed to be. I can't remember, but he could be a different character and he could still fill that mantle of Black Panther. So that's where I'm coming from with it. That's how I would pitch it to Marvel Studios. They have a hard decision to make. And like you said in the video I just made before, right now they're grieving. They don't really know what they're going to do. But, two things would have to go. I mean, Coogler has to stay on the project for that to happen. And at this point, I don't even know if he wants to stay on the project because he's been working on it and he's caught off guard by this. So I don't know if he's going to want to do it. And then you have to convince Michael B. Jordan to do it. And the thing about all of this now, it was already going to be 4 years from the last movie. And with it now most likely being delayed, it's probably going to get pushed back to 2023 or something. So they have a lot of decisions to make, but that's how I feel about it. You can let me know if you agree, disagree, or what your idea is, how you would do it differently, or would you not do it at all? Do you just need to, just let T'Challa rest in power, as they say, with Chadwick Boseman? So let me know down in the comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And what we are going to do is, for the first 1,000 subscribers, once we hit the 1,000 mark, I am going to do a giveaway. Probably be like Funko Pops. More information on that to come. But once we hit 1,000, I do want to do a giveaway. And then when we hit the next milestone of 10,000, we probably will be looking at those PS4s, or even by then maybe PS5. So we'll have to see. But definitely let me know down in the comment section. The more if you like, comment, and subscribe, the better chance you have at winning one of the giveaways.